So today, Rudy, we heard from Francois Legault. Found this a couple of things, I guess, a little odd. Number one, kind of giving you the impression, or giving us the impression that, he wants whoever succeeds him to carry on with his work, which is, I guess, what you'd expect from a leader. But given the fact that he is so unpopular, kind of an odd thing to say, wasn't it?
It was a very emotional day for him. He was meeting his caucus for the last time as Premier of Quebec, and he, had a message that he wants everybody to continue the work. He also said that he doesn't want to pause. He doesn't want any prorogation. He wants Quebec to continue to move forward and to get back to work. But the problem is it's easier said than done, especially if you're a prime minister who has resigned. I don't believe there's a lot of civil servants in Quebec City who are going to take orders from the government right now, especially when it's an election year. So it's going to be difficult, but it was in a way, and he said it, that he had the impression that he's handling the baby to possibly either Christine Fréchette or Bernard Drinville. So it's going to be difficult for him, and we'll see what's going to happen. And the reality is that when there's a leadership race, whoever wins needs to kind of put a break or have a difference with former Premier, exactly as you said, because he was unpopular, because there's some policies that Quebecers don't like. But at the same time, he is still there, and the problem is maybe he's going to say that he's not going to get involved, but is he going to be able to do that? That's going to be a hard task for him not to get involved in that race.
Well, let's go back to the two people who say they want to succeed, and one, of course, is Christine Fréchette. The other is Bernard Drinville, and today we had a prominent member in the CAQ cabinet, Jean-François Roberge, come out and support not Bernard Drinville, bit of a surprise perhaps, but Christine Fréchette.
Yeah, exactly as you said. It was kind of a surprise because you would think that Minister Roberge, who's very identified with identity politics, especially when it comes to Bill 21, that he would support Bernard Drinville, but it came as a surprise that he announced this morning that he's supporting Christine Fréchette. So I do say that Christine Fréchette really has the advantage right now with more ministers, more caucus members from the CAQ supporting her. But there was a turn this afternoon. Bernard Drinville also announced the support of somebody who's also important, Madame Laurent, who used to be the head of the Nurses Association, Régine Laurent, who said that she's supporting. So she's not a member of parliament, she's not a minister, but she's somebody who has a lot of visibility in Quebec. Remember, she was the head of the Youth Commission in Quebec. So she did support today Bernard Drinville. So it's kind of a draw today. We'll see tomorrow who is going to be supporting who. But at the end of the day, and from my own little experience when it comes to a leadership race, yes, it's good to have members to come up forward and say, I'm supporting Bernard Drinville or Christine Fréchette. But at the end of the day, it's a ground game, and the ground game is about selling membership. And that's how you win a leadership race.
So let's move from provincial to federal politics. Of course, House of Commons has resumed. The Prime Minister had his big announcement yesterday on this new GST credit situation.
Yes.
And I'm curious what you think on this, because that was really the story, I guess, at the beginning today. We heard the U.S. Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, say or make us want to believe that in the phone call that Donald Trump made to Mark Carney, and we know that's how it worked, Carney actually backed down and apologized for his comments made in Davos during his speech. And then when the Prime Minister was asked about this later, he said, no, he just kind of told Donald Trump what was going on, explained to him what was happening. So what do we make of this?
But I mean, I'll say advantage, Mr. Carney, because we know that when it comes to the Treasury Secretary, he has kind of this habit of not always saying all the truth. And I do believe that when it comes to Prime Minister Carney, he was very clear when it comes to his speech and pushed back saying that his speech stand. But I do believe that it's also what is going to be the future of the relationship between Canada and the U.S. It's actually a good news that they are speaking. Now we'll see what comes out of it. But I do say advantage, Mr. Carney, when it comes to diversion between him and the Treasury Secretary. But the good thing is also the announcement, as you mentioned yesterday, when it comes to increasing the GST rebate. It's actually kind of neutralizing the Conservative, because this is something on the cost of living that the Conservative have been hammering the Liberals and Prime Minister Carney on it. And also yesterday, Prime Minister Carney had a good day because he kind of mend fences with Doug Ford. They, I believe, had the pizza for lunch, and he's also hosting all the premiers. I believe it's Thursday. So it's also was good for Prime Minister Carney to kind of manifest his fences with Doug Ford, because we remember that Doug Ford wasn't very happy with the China deal.
Right. I think Doug Ford, when he was asked yesterday, someone said, I thought you had a disagreement. He kind of made it say, oh, no, we have no disagreement.
We're a big family.
Yeah, we're one big family here. How much of this, and I know this has come up before, Rudy, is Doug Ford trying to position himself as the next leader of the Conservative Party federally?
I don't know if it's the case, but I can tell you that today Pierre Poilievre was asking questions directly to the Prime Minister in question period, and his answer was, hey, I had a good relationship with Doug Ford. You should talk to Doug Ford. So he's kind of pushing back, using kind of the good relationship that Prime Minister Carney is having to Doug Ford, and basically saying to Pierre Poilievre, look, I'm able to have good relationship with Conservatives. So yes, I do believe that it's difficult for Pierre Poilievre. And yes, normally you would expect that a provincial Conservative, yes, it's a progressive Conservative party, but normally would have a good relationship with the leader of the federal Conservative Party.
With respect to what happened in the House today, any points scored? I saw Pierre Poilievre up a couple of times. What did you happen to see?
No, it was a draw in terms of just Mr. Poilievre going after, obviously, the cost of living and Prime Minister Carney. He didn't take many questions. He only took one round. Comes the leaders round, and he just basically highlighted his meeting yesterday with Doug Ford.
Last thing I will ask, Rudy, there's a lot of speculation now, given Mark Carney's introduction yesterday and handing out with Doug Ford and the GST rebate. This is all being put into place very strategically with the idea of calling an early election. Do you buy that?
I have to say that yesterday, when I did watch the announcement of Mark Carney in the grocery store with all the fruits and vegetables as a backdrop, it kind of gave me the image of a campaign announcement, or those kind of announcements that you typically see when it comes to a campaign. So is it possible? I think that everything is possible. It's still a minority government. Are the Liberals still trying to bring a Conservative or perhaps a member of the NDP on their side to have their majority? Is still a scenario. But at the same time, don't forget that if you want to go into an election, you have to make the case, for example, that the parliament is not working. So we'll see what happens the upcoming weeks and months. But yes, I did have the impression yesterday that it was kind of a campaign announcement.
We'll leave it at that. All right, Rudy, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Seasoned gamer or just video game curious? This Week in Gaming is the podcast for you. We break down the latest in the world of video games, from basics to beyond. The hottest gaming news, insight, and industry leaders and more, weekly. Join me, Naomi Kyle, and stay ahead of the game with all the latest updates, even if you're a total newbie. Stream This Week in Gaming on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.